the Bharatiya Janata Party has unveiled its manifesto titled Sankalp Patra for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections at the party headquarters in Delhi in the presence of Prime Minister Modi. The manifesto focuses on welfare and development schemes along with outlining a roadmap for Viksit Bharat 2047. It promises to include empowering rural women, encouraging women's participation in sports and initiatives to eliminate cervical cancer. For the youth, there's focus on encouraging startups and increasing Mudra loan limits. The party promises to eliminate left-wing extremism, implement the Citizenship Amendment Act, and launch a national forensics mission for national security. Commitments for senior citizens include bringing them under Ayushman Yojana and providing free treatment for farmers. Promises include strengthening the PM Fasal Bima Yojana and launching a national mission on natural farming. The BJP emphasizes its commitment to the welfare of the poor, the youth, the women, and of course the farmers. Conversely speaking, the Congress in its manifesto focused on guarantees like job vacancies, cashless insurance, legal MSP guarantees, the LGBTQ recognition factor, social resistance, and job reservation for women in the central government. In fact, before we dip into this discussion, let's listen into some reactions that came in. All right, we'll get to those reactions momentarily. Manasvi Thapar, political analyst, joins us on the program. Yuvraj Pokarna, political analyst, again with us on the show. Mr. Sandeep Chachra, human rights defender, also with us on the program. Last but by no means the least, Professor Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, also joins us on the broadcast. Professor Nalapat, at the outset, what did you make of the Sankalp Patra, the manifesto? The Prime Minister, when he signed off today, sir, he said that the country's ambition is my mission. Does that sum up the compendium, the synopsis of what the Bharatiya Janata Party is trying to achieve?
The bottom line is credibility. The credibility of which party is more able, which party is more, basically, which party in power is going to make the promises it has made possible. From that point of view, this government has got a good record, if I may say so. Now, they are very clearly said they're going to extend the food subsidy for another 5 years. They're talking of expanding Ayushman Bharat, and they're talking of doing some incentives for senior citizens, which is a very welcome step. For example, the railways, I'm told, removed some of the provisions for senior citizens, which in my view should be revived. I don't see why the railways did that. The fact of the matter is that every one of these guarantees depends on a strong economy. And this government has shown that it is aware of the geopolitical currents and is also aware of the fact that India could become a major destination for overseas investment, as well as sparking domestic investment on a very substantial scale once the election is over. So far, the Congress manifesto is concerned, it's promising a lot. But the reality is the Congress has been in power for a very long time. There was a Garibi Hatao program launched by Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Unfortunately, the Garibi has not been was not hatao during that time, and now it is, very systematically an effort is being made to remove poverty. So the problem is that the Congress manifesto, frankly, is unaffordable for any country unless it has about 12 to 13% growth. So what the Congress manifesto is silent on, how will it assure that 12 to 13% growth? If we go back to, the traditional rate of growth in the 1950s, the 1960s and 1970s, about 2%, a little under 2%, a little over 2%. It's not going to be sufficient. So let's be honest about the situation. The fact is that the Congress manifesto is promising a lot that it knows it cannot deliver. It has not delivered in the past. But they are saying that the level of joblessness among the people, the income, levels of income inequality that we are seeing, all that is going to make people believe in these promises and then vote them to power. And once they come to power, then of course it will be a new day. They'll have to look. But I think the goal is really to come to power at anyhow, to come to power promising anything. And even if it's an unaffordable manifesto, they say they can come to power on that. And we saw that in Karnataka, where the government today is in very dire economic straits because it promised a lot and is not able to deliver that. And of course, in Karnataka, the government there has said, unless the Congress comes to power in the center, we can't deliver it. But the fact is, even if it comes to center, they'll not be able to deliver on those promises. There is a reality fixed by the economic rate of growth. And the question is, will Narendra Modi or will Rahul Gandhi and the other opposition leaders be able to promote a faster rate of growth? If people believe that Narendra Modi can do it, well, then he is going to get the majority that he is looking for.
All right. Before, in fact, I take reactions from my other guests, my colleagues Mahima and Manohar Kesri have spoken to political leaders on BJP's manifesto. Listen in.
हमारे साथ बातचीत करने के लिए बांसुरी स्वराज है। बांसुरी जी, आज प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने बीजेपी का संकल्प पत्र जारी किया है, क्या कहेंगे सर?
ये देश की आकांक्षाओं का संकल्प पत्र है, देश के सुझावों का संकल्प पत्र है, ये देश की अपेक्षाओं का संकल्प पत्र है और ये विकसित भारत का संकल्प पत्र है, जिस पर लगी है गारंटी मोदी जी की। और मोदी जी की गारंटी सभी गारंटी पूरी होने की गारंटी है। आप देख लीजिएगा, अब की बार 400 पार, फिर एक बार मोदी सरकार, क्योंकि हम परफॉर्म, रिफॉर्म और ट्रांसफॉर्म का मूल मंत्र आत्मसात कर भारत को एक विश्व गुरु बनाने पर तुले हुए हैं।
उन्होंने कहा है कि अगर बड़े निर्णय लेने होंगे, कड़े निर्णय लेने होंगे तो भी लेंगे, चाहे यूसीसी की बात हो, वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन की भी बात।
बिल्कुल, और भाजपा ये हमेशा करती आई है, चाहे सीएए लाना हो, चाहे ट्रिपल तलाक हटाना हो, जो भी ऐसा फैसला, जो कड़ा फैसला था, जो वोट बैंक पॉलिटिक्स के कारण कांग्रेस के कार्यकाल में असंभव था, भारतीय जनता पार्टी मोदी जी के कुशल नेतृत्व में हमेशा ऐसे फैसले लेती रहेगी जो राष्ट्र हित में अच्छे होंगे, क्योंकि राष्ट्र सर्वोपरि।
उन्होंने ज्ञान की बात की है कि अब शहरी नहीं, गरीबों तक भी ज्ञान की योजनाएं सारी पहुंचेगी।
पूरे भारत का विकास है और भारत केवल अर्बन सेंटर्स में नहीं है, मेरा भारत विलेजेस में भी रहता है, गाँव में भी रहता है, कस्बों में भी रहता है। और इसीलिए आप देखिए पीएम स्वनिधि, जिसमें पहले 11,000 करोड़ रुपया बिना किसी ऋण के रेहड़ी पटरी वालों को शहरी केंद्रों में दिया गया है, अब वही उसी योजना का विस्तार होगा गाँवों में और कस्बों में, क्योंकि जिसकी गारंटी कोई नहीं लेता उसकी गारंटी लेते हैं नरेंद्र मोदी।
क्योंकि आप खुद नई दिल्ली से उम्मीदवार हैं, ऐसी स्थिति में उन्होंने एक बात कही है भ्रष्टाचारियों के खिलाफ, अगर भ्रष्टाचारी करेंगे तो जेल के पीछे जाएंगे।
क्योंकि जब भी भ्रष्टाचार होता है तो भ्रष्टाचारी देश को लूटते हैं, देश की जनता को लूटते हैं, ये देश की जनता का पैसा है। आम आदमी पार्टी ने जो शराब घोटाले में नुकसान कराए दिल्ली की जनता का 2000 से 2 करोड़ से ऊपर, केवल अपने 100 करोड़ रुपए के किकबैक के चक्कर में, तो इसीलिए मोदी जी बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं, उनके कुशल नेतृत्व में भाजपा भ्रष्टाचारियों पर कार्रवाई करने पर अडिग है।
एक आखिरी सवाल, लगातार आम आदमी पार्टी कल से कह रही है कि अब मोदी सरकार जो है सो दिल्ली में राष्ट्रपति शासन लगा देंगी और इस तरह के अंदेशा जता रहे हैं।
ज्योतिष ज्ञान की ज्ञाता नहीं हूँ जो वो जानते हैं, लेकिन हाँ इतना ज़रूर पूछना चाहूँगी, क्या आम आदमी पार्टी में प्रतिभा का अकाल है? क्या इनके 60 विधायकों में से किसी में भी योग्यता नहीं है सीएम का दायित्व निभाने का? या फिर आम आदमी पार्टी के जो मुखिया हैं, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, वो सत्ता के मुंह में इतने मदमस्त हैं कि जेल से सरकार चलाने पे आतुर हैं, दिल्ली की जनता का अहित कर रहे हैं और सीएम की कुर्सी को मलख कर बैठे हैं।
चलिए, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। कैमरा पर्सन अनीश के साथ मनोहर केसरी, इंडिया न्यूज़, दिल्ली।
All right, let me also open Mr. Sandeep Chachra into this conversation. Mr. Chachra, your initial impressions of the BJP manifesto. Do you think that it covers, that 360-degree area where, a number of factors, which start from the ground up all the way till our foreign policy are covered?
Thank you, and greetings on Ambedkar Jayanti. Let me just start off and say, with the BJP Sankalp Patra out today, we are well within the festival of democracy, our general elections, the largest in the world. And Vinay, as you know, this is the International Year of Elections, and 49% of our global population is going to exercise their franchise. So this is a very, very important year for India, but also globally. But let me also say, from an early reading, I've had a quick read as the BJP's Sankalp Patra released today. I find it visionary, but quick read of it. But let me say the substantive response in the agendas promised in the BJP's manifesto today. But I may also add those which were released earlier of the other parties. Now, if you put it all together, these represents the aspirations of our people, of our vulnerable people, of our overall population. And this bodes well as we go to polls. But let me come to the point of what you asked. What do I like about this manifesto in the headlines? So first of all, the symbolism of it. It's being launched today on Ambedkar Jayanti. So it promises implicitly and tacitly the issue of social justice. And I think that's very, very crucial from where I sit and from where I speak. Number two, I also do think that the opening of the manifesto and the opening part of presenting the manifesto, the Honorable Prime Minister brought the message home and he invoked the symbolism of the thali in the sense of, not just nutrition, but also in the sense of affordability of that thali, but also in terms of dignity of work associated with the thali. So I think it was a very direct messaging. And I think within the Gyan framing, the Garib, Yuva, Annadata and Nari framing, which were being spoken of earlier in the budget, I think this has been carried off very well. And I like that direction of thinking that this manifesto embodies. Point number three, I think where there's a departure point, and that's good, is that apart from redistribution, more could have been done. I'll come to that. But apart from redistribution, this manifesto also touches and importantly centralizes the issue of aspirations of Indians, the question of growth, with redistribution. So I think that's important. And in doing so, it talks of not just self-reliance, a message which is long, which is hopeful, it has a huge history since our independence. So it brings that message of self-reliance to us. But much more importantly, in the end part of introducing the manifesto, the messaging of responsible internationalism. So nationalism with internationalism is music to many of our ears. Let me put it there. The Prime Minister spent a lot of time today, and interestingly and importantly, talking about the world of work. He talked of green jobs. He talked of Industry 4.0. He talked of young people of India. He talked of Nari Shakti. He was talking of drone Didis and interestingly, very specifics and also social infrastructure for workers. He was talking of truck drivers, for instance. But in any way, the world of work, I may say, Vinitji, has undergone huge transitions in these last decades. And I think as these transitions go, a lot of people are very insecure with this world of work. Apart from skilling, I think the need of the hour. And I would have expected that we as a social organization have been consulting with tens of thousands of people in different districts from our perspective of how we can serve it together and serve them better. And we hear this message often, the need for guaranteeing, whatever guarantee we call it. In this instance, it would be a Modi guarantee, for instance, guaranteeing dignified work to all. In a constitutional aspect, it will mean a right to work. Embodying a right to work would be a departure point for future. And I think I want to touch on the question of dignity. As I said, it's been launched today on the 14th of April, Ambedkar's Jayanti. You see, while the Manual Scavenging Act was, manual scavenging was amended and abolished, many forms of untouchability, caste-based work continue in the world of work. These need to be annihilated. So I think the question of caste being annihilated in the world of work is a set of expectations a lot of people in India have. Despite of all the Manual Scavengers Act, for instance, in the world of work, whether it's cremation ground workers, whether it's other workers, caste plays an important role. And I think we need a legislation to put a definitive end to caste in the world of work. I want to make two quick other points, expectations, which I think will be met as we go along. Manifestos at the end of the day are ambitions, are promises, and subject to evolution. The first is this question of definition of the world of work itself. When the Equal Wages Act, the Equal Remuneration Act was brought forward in 1976, work meant that formal workspace. Work did not include the world of work we have in our homes. Women, for instance, do 4 times more work at home. So I do see a future where we do have national campaigns and effort in party manifestos going ahead, which calls for a redistribution of work in the work at home, in the world of work, care work at home, for instance. Similarly, and lastly, Vinitji, in this first instance, I'm aware I'm running out of time. The Prime Minister spoke a lot about green jobs. I think there's a recognition that millions of people are already in green jobs. Who are these people? The fish workers of India who maintain water ecosystems, the nomadic pastoralists of India who actually regenerate species, build newer species, the agricultural workers who do organic and agroecological agriculture, the rag pickers of our cities who risk their lives in cleaning and segregating dirty waste, although there are transitions there still. I think we need to recognize these as ecological workers and their ecological services in continuation with what the BJP Manifesto promises of green jobs. Their services needs to be recognized as green jobs. Their services need to be compensated, and an ecological valuation and remuneration of their services need to be done. So there are many more things to end it to say, but the direction of travel seems important. The direction of travel would benefit from many of these issues that are surfacing as reactions or early reactions to manifestos as parties are releasing their manifestos. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And Yuvraj, if you can hear me? Yuvraj, if you're there with us?
Yes.
Well, what was also appealing, about this manifesto and its contents and what came apart when the Prime Minister started to, in fact, prioritize what's going to be first is the fact that there is this astute level of transparency that is being tried to be maintained here. If the government is saying something, it is putting out its vulnerabilities out in the open so that it can be held accountable. Now, this is something not a lot of people or a lot of governments have done in the past.
See, Vineet, for starters, when you have introduced me as a political analyst, so let me get into the polity of the manifesto. To me, the launch of BJP Manifesto as a Sankalp Patra on this auspicious day not only marks the birth anniversary of B.R. Ambedkar, but today is also being celebrated as a new year in many parts of the country, including the Northeast and Tamil Nadu. So there is the signal in that. Second, when we're speaking about the manifesto launch, the Sankalp Patra, there was a misconception. BJP was misconstrued, wrongly so, as a party of the upper caste or Northeast, but upper caste and the elitist. But today, if we see, the entire launch, the entire podcast was about welfareism, beneficiaries, schemes, vikas, and it wasn't anything anywhere about caste. So it is, to me, the advent and the launch of a renewed Bharatiya Janata Party. And trust me, it is very ironic to speak, but BJP is now as left politically and economically as it can get. So BJP to me now seems to be trotting on a left vision of economics. And yes, regarding the transparency, BJP has worked on a jam trinity, Jandan, Aadhaar, Mobile. So when it comes to UPI, when it comes to Jandan, when it comes to this bank account, transparency, so BJP is all in. Let me quote a simple number with you. As per, the numbers touted by BJP-led My Government portal, it is said that near about 2.7 lakh crore have been saved just by the purpose of DPT, just by the mechanism of DBT, direct beneficiary transfer. And there's a very famous line from Rajiv Gandhi ji, कि मैं 100 रुपया भेजता हूं तो 15 रुपया पहुंचता है. So BJP has trained its guns on the corruption issue against the dotted India line. Having said that, BJP is now evolving. Have you ever noticed a PM launching manifesto and covering the grounds from the Rediwala, truck driver, from the potato chips to semiconductor chips? I mean, the buzzwords of the manifesto launch were green energy, solar energy, foreign reserves, sustainability, global vision, green hub, pharma, semiconductor, electronics, automobile, innovative. These were the buzzwords touched upon by the PM, who's almost 75 years of age. So this is, to me, an emerging India, a new India. And last but not the least, the four caste, that is GYAM, G-Y-A-M, Garib, Yuva, Annadata, Mahila, the youth, the farmers, the poor, and the women. These are the four castes. And to me, there's a very strong, potent message in this segregation of forecast.
Okay, let me also rope in Manasvi
yeah.
into this conversation. We've run out of time. Manasvi, your impressions of the manifesto, anything you felt was missing as somebody who's critiqued the government in the past?
I feel it's a very smart manifesto. It's not very quantitative manifesto like in the previous manifesto. BJP would have that we will give 2 crores jobs. For this time, there is no job mentioned. So it's not quantitative. So you can't counter them in the future that, see, you mentioned these numbers, now these figures are not matching up. And other is the optical part of it. I remember 2014 manifesto. I'll just show it to you. There were around 11 people in the manifesto. And today's manifesto, it's all about Modi ki guarantee and it's all about Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It's all about him. And I don't doubt that. I think optically, presentation-wise, it's about Prime Minister Narendra Modi only. This election is less of BJP and more of Modi. And it's good for them. It's good for BJP. It is working out for them. People connect with Prime Minister Narendra Modi like with no one else. That's the point. And also with the opposition also. So opposition is also about Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So the central figure of this election, not in 2019, not in 2014, but in this election presently, the central figure is Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So optically, it is him. And this is a very advanced manifesto. Why would I say that? Is they have not gone into the depth of it. On the top of it, they have spoken very well. And further, what they have also done very artfully is all the good things which they have done. They have also presented it well.
Okay, all right. Manasvi, we've run out of time. Appreciate everyone being a part of this conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.